We are introduced to this world in 2022, where the world is excitedly anticipating the launch of a revolutionary virtual reality MMORPG called Sword Art Online, SAO. The game uses a technology called nerve gear, a helmet that fully immerses players into the virtual world by directly stimulating their senses. We meet Kazuto Kirigaya, known as Kirito, a skilled gamer who is eager to dive into the virtual realm of SAO. On the day of the game's launch, players log into the virtual world with a sense of excitement and adventure. Kirito encounters another player named Klein, who is struggling to adjust to the game's mechanics. Kirito helps Klein navigate the game's interface, teaching him how to equip weapons and use skills. The two spend the day killing beasts together, and soon the time to log out approaches. However, as they try to exit the game, they quickly realize that something is amiss. All the players are summoned to a common area, and the game's creator, Akihiko Kayaba, appears as a hooded figure and informs the players that they are trapped within the virtual world of SAO. They cannot log out, and if they die in the game, they will die in real life as well, as the nerve gear helmet contains a device that can kill them. To make matters worse, Kayaba reveals that the only way to escape is to clear all 100 floors of the game by defeating the bosses on each floor. Panic ensues as players struggle to comprehend the gravity of their situation. Some players dismiss the announcement as a prank, while others try to log out only to realize they're stuck. Kirito, who had been one of the game's beta testers, understands the situation's severity and decides to survive within the game until a solution is found. Klein is grateful for Kirito's assistance and invites him to join his party. But Kirito declines, explaining that he prefers to play solo. He assures Klein that he'll be fine on his own and heads off on his own adventure within the world of SAO. A month passes, and some of the players call a meeting to discuss how to defeat the first-floor boss. A player called Diavel, his party have discovered about the boss. Everyone forms parties to help in the battle, and Kirito, being a solo player, decides to join with a girl called Asuna, but before the planning can start, they are interrupted by an obnoxious player called Kibao. Kibao accuses the beta testers, like Kirito, of letting everyone down and being responsible for some of their deaths. But before things can get out of hand, he is interrupted by Agil, who explains that the beta testers, or beaters, as they will be known, handed out guidebooks to try and help. He calms the situation down and gets everyone back on point. Diavel goes over a game plan, and everyone heads off to prepare. Kirito and Asuna share some food, which Kirito flavors with something to make it taste better. The boss battle begins with a large group of players, including Kirito, engaging the monster. Kirito demonstrates his exceptional combat abilities, effectively dodging the boss's attacks and dealing significant damage. However, chaos ensues when the boss unleashes a devastating attack that results in the death of Diavel, who before he dies tells Kirito that he was also a beta tester. Kirito and Asuna barely manage to escape the attack's range, utilizing his speed and agility. Despite the chaos, Kirito and Asuna work together and manage to overcome the boss and secure victory. Kirito obtains a rare item for dealing the killing blow. Kibao accuses Kirito of being a beta tester and allowing Diavel to die, but instead of trying to convince them that he isn't, he instead acts like he's a bad person and walks away for some unknown reason. Asuna stops him before he leaves, asking how he knew her name. He explains and tells her that if she ever gets the chance to, she should join a party, because there's only so much you can do on your own. He dissolves the party and walks away. Kirito recalls his experiences with a former guild, where he formed a connection with a player named Sachi. The guild was close-knit and often engaged in activities together, while with this new guild, The moonlit black cats, Kirito starts to feel like part of something again. While out one night, he runs into Klein, who wonders if it still bugs him that everyone turned on him because he's a beta tester. When he gets back, he finds out that Sachi is missing. He finds her and learns that she is afraid of dying and even considers killing herself. He reassures her and vows to protect her no matter what. While the leader of the guild goes off to buy a house, the rest of them decide to go to a dungeon on a higher floor, but tragedy strikes during the raid, unable to teleport out. All the guild members, including Sachi, lose their lives. Haunted by the memory of the tragedy, Kirito has kept to himself and avoided forming close relationships with other players. He reflects on the nature of the game, where players who die cannot come back, and grapples with feelings of guilt and survivor's remorse. Kirito sets out on a quest where the prize is a revival item so he can bring Sachi back to life. He encounters Klein while on his quest, and another group called the Royal Dragon Alliance show up. Klein's party buys him enough time to find and defeat the boss for the revival item, but it won't work because it must be administered within 10 seconds after they die. Klein implores Kirito to take care of himself as he walks away. Alone in his room, Kirito is surprised by a recording that Sachi made before she died. She expresses how much he meant to her and her hopes for him. She ends her message with a song bringing tears rolling down his face. Despite his solitary approach, Kirito encounters and saves a player named Silica while she is being attacked by monsters, but he was too late to save her baby dragon called Pina. Kirito tells her about a place called the Hill of Memories, where she can revive her. Silica is determined to save Pina, who she considers her closest friend. Kirito agrees to help Silica and offers his guidance in navigating the dangerous terrain. The two bond as they discuss and plan their journey. As they venture into the hill, they encounter powerful monsters and fight valiantly to protect themselves. Kirito's combat skills and experience prove crucial in overcoming the challenges they face. As they ascend further, Silica learns more about Kirito and his relationship with his sister, who she reminds him of. The two reach the top and the item that can heal Pina. As they leave, they are confronted by Rosalia and some of her party members. They are part of a gang who deceive and attack other SAO players so that they can steal their items and loot, even killing them in the process. Kirito makes quick work of Rosalia and her cohorts and captures them so they can be judged for their crimes. With the item in hand, Kirito and Silica descend the hill and use the item to save Pina's life. Silica thanks Kirito for his assistance and companionship. Kirito, in turn, reflects on his past and the significance of forming connections with others, even in a virtual world. After a disagreement with Asuna about her plan to fight a boss, Kirito decides to take a break from his usual activities and visits the town of Lindarth to relax. Asuna appears and takes a break as well. She falls asleep and Kirito watches over her. Asuna offers him dinner to thank him, and the two make their way into town. While there, they notice a commotion in the streets. Players are gathered around, discussing the recent murder of a player named Keynes. The shocking part is that the murder occurred within a safe zone, where players are supposed to be immune to attacks. Kirito becomes intrigued by the mystery and decides to investigate the incident. He speaks to a girl named Yoriko, who was friends with the victim. Yoriko explains that Keynes was in possession of a rare ring that they had earned in a quest. The ring is now missing, and Yoriko suspects a player named Grimlock of being involved in the murder after Kirito had the murder weapon appraised. Kirito delves deeper into the mystery, analyzing the situation and considering various possibilities. Kirito and Asuna gather information from the other players and narrow down the list of suspects. Yoriko gets murdered, while with Asuna and Kirito, however, they quickly figure out that her death was staged. At a grave, one of the party members, Schmidt, begs for forgiveness from their former leader, Griselda, when Yoroko and a hooded man, later revealed to be Kanes, appear and record the confession. It had all been a plan to discover her killer. The trio are attacked by a group called the Murder Guild. Kirito and Asuna appear and once again saves the day by taking down the attackers. Kirito explains that it was, in fact, Grimlock, who had planned the death of both Griselda and the rest of the party. They confront Grimlock, who admits to the murder. He reveals that he was driven by jealousy over how strong and confident his wife Griselda had become. Yoroko and her two comrades take him away to pay for his crimes. The two players reflect on the complexities of the virtual world and the unpredictable behaviors it can evoke. Kirito and Asuna acknowledge the significance of their encounter and finally acknowledge each other as friends. Kirito decides to upgrade his equipment and seeks out a blacksmith named Lisbeth, known as Liz. He enters the city of Rovia and locates Liz's shop, where she specializes in crafting high-quality weapons. Kirito explains that he wants to upgrade to have a sword made that is as good as the one he currently has an elucidator and requests Lisbeth's assistance. Seeing that her best sword is so much weaker, she agrees to forge a new sword for him as long as he provides the metal she needs to make it. And they set off on a quest to gather materials for the weapon on floor 55. Their journey leads them to a dangerous cave inhabited by a powerful dragon. The two are thrown into a deep hole, and Kirito saves Liz from the fall. When morning comes, Kirito discover the rare metal they need for the sword. Kirito and Liz manage to escape and teleport back home. Upon returning to Rovia, Liz successfully forges a new sword for Kirito, which she names Dark Repulsor. Instead of payment, Liz says that she would rather be Kirito's only blacksmith. She has fallen in love with Kirito and hopes to see him more often. Asuna shows up, and Liz realizes that Kirito and Asuna both have feelings for each other. She runs out to be alone with her feelings, but Kirito finds her and cheers her up by explaining that she helped him realize that life is valuable. Kirito finds a very rare rabbit in the woods. He has it appraised, but with his low cooking skill, he won't be able to cook it. Asuna and her obnoxious bodyguard show up, and Kirito asks her to cook the rare rabbit for him in exchange for half of the bounty. Asuna sends the bodyguard on his way in spite of his objections. The two go to her apartment, and she prepares a delicious meal which they share and enjoy together. Asuna decides that the two of them should form a party and adventure together. The next morning, the obnoxious bodyguard Kuradil tries to force Asuna to go back to the Knights of the Blood Oath with him, but Kirito steps in and the two duel it out, with Kirito quickly beating him. Asuna relieves Kuradil of his duties as her bodyguard, and the two enter the Floor 74 labyrinth. They find the boss room and go in to find out more, where they encounter a boss called the Gleam Eyes. The two escape the boss room and have some lunch together. Klein and his party also show up. Shortly after, a group of soldiers from the first floor appear. The men are all exhausted but decide to enter the boss room. Regardless, Kirito gives them a map with directions to the boss room, and the soldiers set off. They hear a scream and run to investigate. The soldiers of the Aincrad Liberation Army are fighting and losing against the Gleam Ears boss, unable to teleport out. Kirito remembers the friends he lost, and they all make the decision to run in and help. In a critical moment, Kirito uses a skill known as Dual Blades, revealing his unique dual-wielding ability. This rare skill allows him to wield two swords simultaneously and execute rapid and powerful attacks. Kirito exploits this advantage to land a critical blow on the Gleam Eyes, defeating the boss. With the boss defeated, Kirito and Asuna emerge victorious, and a tearful Asuna embraces Kirito, who almost died. They talk about the dual-wielding skill they saw Kirito use as they reflect on the intensity of the battle and the sense of accomplishment that comes with overcoming such a formidable opponent. Kirito and Asuna go to meet Commander Heathcliff, the head of the Knights of the Blood Oath, who challenges Kirito to a duel over Asuna, who he says is vital to their guild. Heathcliff challenges Kirito to a duel with the condition that if Kirito wins, Asuna will be released from her guild and free to leave. However, if Kirito loses, he will have to join the guild. The duel takes place in a medieval-style arena, and Kirito faces off against Heathcliff in a one-on-one battle. The duel is intense and showcases Kirito's combat skills, as well as Heathcliff's impressive abilities. Kirito struggles against Heathcliff's tactics and strength, but his determination keeps him in the fight. Despite all his strength, Kirito loses and has to join the Knights. Asuna asks Kirito why he doesn't like to join other guilds. He tells her about the friends he lost, the moonlit black cats, giving her insight into who he really is. Kirito is ordered to train with Godfrey, the commander of the front lines. They are joined by Kuradil so they can bury the hatchet. Unfortunately, Kuradil is a crazy loser and poisons Kirito and Godfrey. He kills Godfrey and starts to torture Kirito. Before he can finish him off, Asuna appears and stops him. Kirito and Asuna share a kiss and vow to take care and protect each other. They spend the night together, and Kirito asks Asuna to marry him and go live in the country for a while. The cabin provides a temporary escape from the dangers of the virtual world, allowing them to enjoy peaceful moments together. As Kirito and Asuna settle into the cabin, they engage in various activities that offer a sense of normalcy within the confines of SAO. They fish in a nearby river, gather materials to cook a meal, and enjoy the serenity of the natural surroundings. These moments of tranquility provide a contrast to the challenges they usually face in the game. During their time together, Kirito and Asuna's relationship deepens. They open up to each other about their real lives, aspirations, and dreams. Kirito and Asuna are approached by a young girl named Yui, who appears to be lost and in need of help. Yui seems to lack memories of her past and is confused about her identity. Kirito and Asuna are initially cautious, but decide to assist Yui and take her under their care. They head to the first floor in the hopes of finding out more about Yui. In the town of beginnings, they come across a bunch of soldiers threatening a woman and a group of children. Asuna takes it upon herself to teach them a lesson, and they run away. Something strange happens, and Yui passes out. A woman from the army thanks them for putting the soldiers in their place and asks them for their help with something else. She informs them that Kibao has taken control of the army, and she needs their help to find Thinker, the original leader, who has been trapped by Kibao in a dungeon. Kirito, Asuna, and Yui go with Yulier to find Thinker. They fight through the dungeon, but when Yulier sees Thinker, she runs forward, not noticing the traps around her. Asuna and Kirito stay behind to fight a Reaper monster that appears while the others escape. When things start to look bad, Yui steps in front of the monster and effortlessly destroys it. They discover that Yui has a unique AI program that allows her to feel emotions and interact with the world. The program, however, is supposed to only be a counseling program that helps players in SAO, but for some reason, she was not allowed to complete her functions. When she saw Asuna and Kirito, she broke free in order to meet them. Because Yui intervened in the battle, she is set to be deleted by the Cardinal program. Kirito accesses a console and saves Yui from deletion by saving her to an in-game object so that they can recreate her after they beat the game. Back at the cabin, Kirito passes the time by fishing and meets an older man called Nishida. They enjoy dinner together. The next day, they have their own little adventure to catch the king of the fish, a massive fish monster with the whole village watching. They both want to stay at the cabin, but know that they must go back to beat the game. They meet with the commander, and he tells them about the next boss fight. They all meet on the 75th floor where Klein and Agil are also waiting to help. Everyone knows this will be a very difficult battle, but enter the boss room regardless. They are met by a giant monster called the Skull Reaper. The battle is fierce, and it seems like the monster is unbeatable. Kirito and Asuna work well together and manage to inflict damage, but the monster has AoE attacks that kill 14 people. After what seemed to be an impossible fight, they manage to kill the boss. With 25 more floors to go, nobody knows how they are going to make it. Without warning, Kirito attacks Heathcliff only for his attack to be stopped and an immortal object icon to appear. Heathcliff is actually the creator of SAO, Akihiko Kayaba, and he is the final boss for the 100th floor. As a reward for discovering his identity, he challenges Kirito to a duel, and if he should win, the game will be cleared. Kirito accepts and steals his resolve. The rest of the players can only watch as they are paralyzed. After a few words to his friends, Agil, Klein, and Asuna, he readies his blade and starts the fight. The fight is intense. Asuna jumps in and sacrifices herself to save Kirito, angered by her death. Kirito is able to win against Kayaba by giving his own life as well. When he opens his eyes, Asuna is next to him as they look down on SAO. Kayaba appears next to them and confirms that they have beaten the game and will soon wake up. They discuss his motives and what he has done as the world of SAO disappears. Kirito's eyes open in the hospital and he drags his thin and weak body out of the bed. That's the end for now, but part 2 is already written.